Alright guys, so I was asked a couple of questions about my lab, and I'll kind of break down a little bit of what's going on here. So, um, not so long ago, I was told about this place in Sacramento, California called Surplus Stuff. I was told that there would be a lot of computer gear, some that works, some that doesn't. It's kind of like the thrift store of electronics. But they have a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff, and it's one of those situations where you need to dig to find gold. And boy, did I find gold. So, there are lots of sites you can go to get used Cisco gear, but I got really lucky, guys. So, I found these three routers. These are 1841s. I found those three together, missing a card, but I replaced that with another Cisco flash card. Okay, and that was pretty neat. I got this cable there. Actually, no, this is a brand new cable. I got a used cable there for like $3 for my console port cable. This actually came with a T1 version 2 card, which works, which is pretty awesome. I made a mistake and I actually got some other T1s, but they're only version 1 and they're not compatible with these. Boo-hoo me. So, you learn, you burn, right? So, these three were only 20 bucks, so it's not that big of a deal, but I wish I would have paid a little bit more attention because I wasn't aware of the differences. But that's okay. Now I know, and now I can order 3 more of the T1s version 2, which is not a big deal. So once I do that, I'll have my serial connections. I can connect my routers together. I don't want to do the other serial port because those cables are kind of bulky and I don't have a lot of room in my office. So I think it'll work out better if I just use the T1 connections. Any rate, so the 1841s are pretty neat. I've got 2 interface ports on each one with an auxiliary and a console input right there. I have a USB connection there also. These are older routers, but they still are amazing to work with. I think I'm running version 12 point something. I think it's 12.5 on these. And there are little differences between 12 and 15, but this is going to get me by for the labbing, or at least just keeping my skills sharp, because with Cisco, for me, I feel like it's kind of a you use it or lose it type of skill set. So I lab every day to make sure that my skills are sharp. I do tutorials for you guys so that I can refresh myself and keep up to date and make sure that I can still remember these protocols and problem solving. So anyway, I've got 2 2950s, and then I have a what is this? A 3560 with PoE. This right here is actually a layer 3 switch. So, so my regular switches are just gonna switch, and this is gonna actually do some layer 3 stuff with some configuration. You can be able to route your IPs and stuff like that. So, what we've got going on here, I've got my 3 routers, I've got my 3 switches. Each one of these actually cost me $15 a piece. Yes, $15 a piece. And these routers are actually in great condition. There's 0 scratches. They're still shiny and nice. The switches are pretty old, but they work. All the ports work. I've tested all the ports, every single one, to make sure they work, so I don't run into issues when I go to troubleshoot, and I don't have to waste any time. I went ahead and used these kind of rack mounts, which don't go with these, but I make it work. That's a part of IT. You gotta make things work when they don't. So it worked out for me. I was able to put these on there. They're pretty secure. And I've got my patch cables here that are going to my PCs. I've got 2 physical PCs here, and I've got my main gaming PC, which is also in dual boot for my server. I could use virtuals, but I've been using virtuals for so long, and I've been using Packet Tracer for so long, I felt like after a while I needed to spend some time actually putting my hands on things. And these 2 computers did not work when I got them. I got this from Surplus Stuff for like $40, and it came with a processor and everything except for a hard drive and the RAM. The RAM was very cheap. I think I got 4 gigs for like $15 or something, and I went and got a brand new 1 gigabyte hard drive for $44. Actually $35 at Fry's. So I didn't spend very much money. I had a couple of Windows 7 keys. I would recommend to use Windows 10, but for what I had for the licenses that I legally had available, I just went ahead and loaded these because, you know, all I want to do with these is just add them to my AD and stuff. But eventually I will buy some Windows 10's licensing. I'm not going to download them. I'm going to buy the license. I'm going to put it on here. It might not run so fast, but, you know, I'll have all my security and everything that I want. And I'll do the same for this guy here. This one's a little bit slower. This is actually a pretty fast computer, actually. This one actually works pretty good. So, yeah, I built these from scratch. That was the whole point of this lab, is to make sure that I built everything with my bare hands, you know, from the ground up. That's kind of how I like to do things. I like to troubleshoot all the issues that I have from the ground up. You know, it doesn't take a lot of skills to do that, but it's just something that, you know, I take pride in. I like to build my things up from scratch, and I like to figure out, problem solve things. You know, I had to solve a couple of issues with this used equipment that I had. I had to reset a lot of these things to factory settings, you know, and all that kind of stuff, and that was pretty fun. Not very time consuming, but I got it done, and now everything works. I can use putty to connect to these guys. Also have something I think is called mobile extern, which is really neat. There's a lot of cool settings in there that I really like. So this device right here is not a networking device. I'm actually a producer and composer. Some of you probably know that. I have songs in several movies and TV shows over the last 10 years. It's something I like to do in my spare time. And I had room on this rack for this, so I put it there. It's not networking at all. But I do use it to record my voice for my tutorials. It's a preamp. So, you know, it all goes together some way or another. So I've got a couple of short patch cables laying around. I've got them color coded. My yellows generally are from device to switch, and then my orange cables are all crossover cables, and then my red cables, I haven't figured out what I'm going to use those for, but I'm trying to keep some color coding going. In my white cables here are kind of just filling a place for my future yellow cables that I'm going to have. So this is actually my ISP going directly into the switch and going to my clients. You guys have probably seen some other tutorial videos that I've done where I've actually configured this particular router to connect with my ISP modem and router. That video is on my LinkedIn if you want to check that out. Pretty neat stuff. I was able to bring a crossover cable to this port here and then come out this port with the patched cable down to my switch. This was actually my gateway. I was able to pull my DHCPs from my ISP modem, which is pretty cool. So if you want to know how to do that, check out my videos on the networkgoldstandard.com, or you can go on the networkgoldstandard.com YouTube page, Leon Tech. So you'll see that the videos are there and on my LinkedIn, and you can learn a couple of things there. But I just wanted to kind of preview what I had going, and I have an unmanaged switch here where my ISP is going into. Then I've got my crossover cable going down, which was supposed to go into my router for that configuration I just told you about. And then this is just my standard Ethernet Cat5 cable going down to my switch, giving me all the internet I need for all my clients down here. So that's my lab. This is what I do a lot of my tutorials on if I'm not using Packet Tracer. But this is definitely something that you should invest your money in, especially if you're in school right now. Even for those who are in the industry and have a job where you're working with switches and routers every day, I think this is still something good to have at home to problem solve issues that you might have at work that you want to go through and see how to figure them out at home on your own time so you don't waste time at work and you can get things done really fast. I'm a major proponent of being prepared for every situation. And in this industry, it's very hard to do that, but I try to stay on top of things as well as I can. So this is Leon from the networkgoldstandard.com. Thank you for watching, and this is my Cisco lab setup.